This is the last automation we are going to do in this section. While it does include a lot of basic automations, we're going to compile and group together a bunch of them to complete one sort of theme or a thematic automation. And that automation is a life recorder. So if you've ever wanted to look back at the past year and see everything that's happened all in one place, so one really cool way to do that is to record it in a specific Google Calendar. We're going to do this in Zapier because it's just a little bit easier to group things, and you'll see why when we get in here. So we'll start out Zapier.com, and we are going to make a bunch of zaps to record things that happen in our life all in one calendar. So when we get here, instead of going to this, what do you want to automate today? I'm going to click make a zap, and that will get us right into the more robust builder. It'll be a little bit easier. The first thing we're going to do, actually, before we even create the zap, so step back just a moment, is we're going to create a Google Calendar called My Life, and that's where we're going to record everything. And then just to review, or just as a summary of what we're going to do, we're going to take tweets that we've made and we'll record those in the calendar. We're going to take all the starred messages on Slack and put those into the calendar. And we're going to take Todoist completed tasks and put those in the calendar. And then we could do a lot of other things, but we'll just stop there so you can get the idea. We're going to also create a Zapier folder, and you'll see how that works to keep these organized into one place. So, Google Calendar. Let's do that first. So, I'll go into Gmail, and once we're here, I am going to go to Calendar. Here we are in Google Calendar, and then over here we see My Calendars. What we can do above that is add a new calendar. So, we're going to click Create New Calendar. We're going to call this My Life Recorded. Sounds like a documentary, because it basically is. Events that happened in my life, all recorded for me to see. Cool. Creating the calendar. We have it. There it is. We'll go back in, and when events are added, they're going to show up in orange. Cool. I like that color. I'm into it. So that is added. We're going to go back into Zapier and then start building out these zaps. The first zap, as I mentioned, is going to be every time my Twitter account tweets, or when I tweet, we're going to record that. So the first trigger app we need is Twitter. You can do this for Instagram or Facebook or any other integrated account. So don't feel like you have to do Twitter if you don't use Twitter. I personally don't actually use Twitter that much, so maybe I should have used something else, like Instagram. I use Instagram a lot more. But here's Twitter. We're going to do the trigger My Tweet. So this triggers when you tweet something new. So when I have a new tweet that goes out, there will be a trigger. Let's go ahead and do that. No, I'm not going to follow Zapier, although that's a pretty smart thing for them to do. Success. We have connected it. The stars have aligned. We're going to click Save and Continue. Pulls in a bunch of examples, and we'll take a look at that. Looks like the first one was actually a reply to someone. Now that's interesting. I'm not sure I want replies to be added into the Google Calendar. Maybe just the original main tweets, the original tweets that I put out. That's what I would want to record. So that's a good thing to note, because what we want to do, and here's an original. So we're going to select that for the test. What we're going to want to do is create a filter here, and that way, if a tweet is a reply, we're not going to move forward. So this is a great example. So the next step we want is a filter. Now this is a little bit more advanced, but I think you guys are ready. So only continue this zap if we want, let's see here, we want something to have to do with reply. In reply, oh, there we go. In reply to screen name. And we're going to say, actually, does not even exist. So when that value does not exist, then we know it's an original tweet. That's the logic there. If it did exist, that means it was a reply and we don't want to move forward. So when it's not there, we'll move forward, and it validates the test, which is really nice. We know right now with the example data that I chose, which was an original tweet, the Zap would move forward with this rule, which means it's all working just as I thought. We'll click continue. We have that filter in place, and the last step is the action to add it to that Google Calendar. So we'll add a step, an action. Here we are. Oh, Google Calendar, it's one of my apps. And you'll see your Google Calendar there as well if you clicked the one-click install of all the Google apps that we did at the beginning. If you can remember that video, Google Calendar will be automatically connected. So the action we want is to create a quick add event. We could create a detailed event, but then we have to go in and really define each field. If we do a quick add event, Google actually looks at the data we're sending it and will look for dates and times and descriptions and kind of fill everything out by itself. Much easier. Google's so smart. It's crazy. Quick add event, that's what we'll go with. That's the action we want. Save and continue. The Google Calendar is connected. Great. This is where we actually choose the calendar. The one we want is My Life Recorded. Remember, we had just created that. And then we describe the event. And this is what Google's going to look through and figure things out. So all we really need is the information from the tweet. I'm going to include what was actually tweeted out. And then because it's a Google Calendar event, we want the date and the time so it can record that appropriately. So created that. I like that. So we'll include that. Google's going to create an event with all this information and it's going to show up. We don't really want to invite anyone to these events because they happened in the past. Doesn't even make sense. So we can just leave that part blank and we'll click continue. Great, here's the test. Let's go ahead and do the test. Let's make sure it works. Green, I like the color green. Let's go into Google and check it out. My Life Recorded. You know, that last tweet I made was probably from a really, really long time ago. That's why it's not going to show up. I told you I don't tweet much. Let's see, when was it? June 26th. Wow, guys, it's been a while. I probably should get on that, huh? So let's just do it though. We're going to go back to June 26th. And voila, there it is. There it is. Very cool. Has it all recorded, and it looks like I was hoping the USA soccer team was going to get a win. I don't think they actually did, if I can remember correctly. But awesome. Validated that it works. We're going to go ahead and finish up. We're going to name this Tweet My Life. And we'll turn it on. Oh, glorious, glorious. It looks like it is working well, and it's going to check for tweets every 5 minutes. Oh, that's awesome. So we're going to go back to the dashboard, and we're going to create a folder now. We're going to call it My Life Recorded. Great. And Tweet My Life, beautiful. We're going to move that into My Life Recorded. Now we have the folder. Oh, it's so good. Awesome. All right, so we're going to keep moving forward here. We got 2 more things we need to do. Slack, starred messages, and Todoist completed tasks. So let's see if we can get through these quickly. Slack, boom. New starred message, just what we need. We're going to connect the account. Great, so we are connecting Slack, and it does so much for us. I love Slack. There it is, build anything Slack account. So we're going to save and continue. Now this is where we can pull in some samples from Slack, so we can go ahead and do that. You'll see here that there's a starred message. Looks like it was the one where I joined the channel. That'll work. We'll click continue. Great. Now we just need to add that last step, which is adding it to a Google event. All right, we'll click continue. And we don't need to send a test this time. We'll name it Slack starred to my life. No, we'll make it look better than that. Slack starred to my life. Turn it on. And there it is. The last one we need to do is Todoist. We'll go in here and quickly add the account. Great, we have it connected. Click save and continue. The project we use, we'll just use automations for now. Great, it's set up. We see some samples that came in, some completed tasks. That'll work. Okay, and of course the last step, we need to add it into Google. So we'll just do this real quick. Should have gotten the hang of this already. Okay, we'll skip the test. We'll finish it up. We'll give it a name. We'll add it to our My Life Recorded and turn it on. Perfect. So now we have a folder, My Life Recorded, with all of the zaps that we need included in the folder. So that is the end of this section. You should feel very familiar with creating applets and zaps now, or at least feeling pretty comfortable. These automations have been a lot of fun, but in the next section, we are going to look at automations that are basically time savers and productivity. They're intermediate workshops. I think you're really gonna love the next section. Check it out, and we'll see you in the next lecture.